How has the show been for you?
The show has been so great. I have attended SAC Anime in Sacramento in the past, but this is my first time in Roseville ever. And Roseville's really nice, and people are really nice, and it's been great.
Yeah, it's been a really nice weekend for a lot of people, especially they've been beating out the weather and still coming to see everyone and talk about, like, especially your history, because you have a long history with a Disney company, all the way from Nightmare Before Christmas through Toy Story. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, I worked on Toy Story when I was 7 years old. I started, and now I'm 39. So it's been a long time. And then I recorded Nightmare Before Christmas around the same time.
Right.
And so, so Nightmare Before Christmas came out in 1993, and then Toy Story came out in 1995. So 2025 is the 30th anniversary.
Wow.
Toy Story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that is phenomenal, because, like, I mean, literally, I'm the same age as you, so I've actually been growing up in the same timeline as you and Andy, and so that's been a fascinating ride, and just so cool to see you grow up with the series and grow up with all of us, and, like, cherishing your toys and cherishing your time with us.
Absolutely, yeah. Just as like you said, just as we've all grown up, I've grown up at the same time, and actually recording Andy, it was always helpful for me. I've always been a little bit older than him. So, for instance, when Andy was going to college in Toy Story 3, I was out of college, and when I was recording it, and so I knew what that was like when I was talking with Leon Critch, the director, and he was like, "Okay, do you remember going through your room and saying goodbye to your toys, and your mom is saying pack up your room?" And I was like, "Yes, I remember all of that," because I experienced it, so I could draw on that and my personal experience to voice Andy.
Awesome. We have a very excited fan right here, actually. I think she has a question for you.
Oh, great. You have a question?
Yes, but go to the microphone.
Go to the microphone.
Yes.
Microphone, hey.
Oh.
So, what I've been asking and what I've been waiting for to tell you is that, which Toy Story would you like? Like, which Toy Story do you like?
Which one is my favorite? So I love all of them. I mean, all of them have a special place in my heart. I would say if I had to pick the first one and the third one, because the first one was the original, and then the third one was that final scene with Andy and Bonnie was really special for me to record. It was very emotional and personal.
Okay, but which one is your favorite out of the first and the third?
Okay, so I have to pick just one. Wow.
Yes.
That's like picking your favorite toy.
Then I would have to say the first one, because it's the original. Because it's the original.
Are you sure?
Which one's your favorite?
The fourth.
The first one? Okay.
Fourth.
Oh, the fourth. Okay, the fourth. Very good. So the most recent one?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Great question, thank you.
I'll be watching the fifth one when it comes out.
You've been watching them? Very good.
I'll be watching the fifth.
Hey, so thank you for coming out. Really appreciate it. So a long time ago, when Buzz Lightyear first came into Andy's life, he was obviously a big fan of the Buzz Lightyear movie that it originated from. So as a voice of Andy, I would like to ask you, what is your ideal Buzz Lightyear film?
Oh, like you mean what would happen in that film? Oh, yeah. So a lot of people have asked me if I saw Lightyear, and I did, and I really liked it. I especially liked Socks, the cat.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. You know, I'm really drawn to origin stories. I think they're really interesting. And sometimes I get the question, like, what kind of films would I like to see in the future, or spin-offs or anything? And I love that they went into, like, Woody's backstory in Toy Story 2. And I just love when you get back to those origins. And I feel like they could even go further and like deeper into history. And so I'm sure everyone in this room knows that Toy Story 5 is in development. It's supposed to come out in 2026, probably June of 2026. And it'll be very interesting to see what will happen in Toy Story 5. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to maybe go back, into some of those origins. And that's what I would love to see, Yeah.
All right, yeah, awesome. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you.
So what kind of toys did you play with growing up?
So I played with a lot of toys, and actually I could share just like how I got the role of Andy, because that involves toys. So growing up, I definitely played with like Legos, X-Men figures, Ninja Turtles, and so many other. I also kind of, I guess it's not a toy per se, but I collected rocks and gems. So I was a collector of that too. And I would play, for hours in my room, which is very much like Andy, as we all know. And for the audition, it was an open call, and I was 7 years old, and they said, bring your favorite toy to the audition. And I brought all my X-Men figures. And my mom said, no, that's too many, you have to pick one. And I said, no, they'll get it. I can't just have Professor X. I need Professor X and Storm and Wolverine and Cyclops and all of them. And so I brought all of them. And then they just recorded us for the first audition, like playing with them. And I created all the voices, and I played with them. And then finally they were like, okay, thank you. Like I kept going and kept going and kept going. And they later told me that is what they saw Andy in that. That is how Andy plays with his toys and how much he loves them. Yeah. And so that was kind of how. And then in the subsequent auditions and callbacks, I read from the script and everything. But that was the first.
Yeah, because especially in the opening when it's like, my dinosaur that eats force field dogs.
Yes, exactly. All right, everyone, this is a stick up. Don't anybody move. Yeah, exactly. That whole sequence is how I would play in my room. Yeah.
I think we have a gentleman with a question right here.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. I also really like your shirt.
Thank you. Hi, hello. So,
it's a little low. Yeah.
Can I just back it up? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. There we go. All right. So, question is, given that you were very young when you started voicing Andy in Toy Story 1 and 2, what were the challenges of that, and how was that a learning experience for you when you were voicing him in Toy Story 3?
Yeah, great question. So basically, when I think back to it, I was just an excited 7-year-old kid, and it to me was just really fun. It was just fun to be in the booth, and John Lasseter, the director, was there, and he just kind of helped me along with the script, and helped me kind of get situated, like, this is where Andy is in the movie, this is what he's doing, And then as I got older and I had more acting training, I started to, be able to kind of approach the character more kind of just with more experience. And so for the second one, and then especially the third one, I really felt like I had a lot more experience and training, especially for that final scene in Toy Story 3, to get into that emotion and to personalize that, and to really kind of step into his shoes. Another challenge was my voice changed between Toy Story and Toy Story 2. So I had to kind of still find Andy's voice, who was a little younger than me in Toy Story 2. But once I did, we were good. Yeah, I just had to kind of like figure out, okay, what does he sound like now? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question to ask you. It's a burning question of mine.
Okay.
What is your least Toy Story movie that you would cut out that would be in the series?
Oh, like if I had to pick one to kind of cut out of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm partial to Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 because Andy's in them.
Yeah.
So you know, Toy Story 4 I enjoyed as a fan. You know, it's focused more on, you know, of course, Bonnie and her story and their new toys, new characters, which were really great. I know a lot of fans, of course, everyone has their own favorite, and some feel like 1 through 3 was like a trilogy, you know, in and of itself, and that was really Andy's story. But that being said, I think it's kind of cool how they took it in a different direction in 4, and then we'll see what they do with 5. There's so many characters, and, you know, we feel connected to them as friends, and it's just interesting to see, like, where it goes.
Yeah,
So-
what one out of 3 would you, like, put on a shelf and never see again?
Which what?
Which one of the 3 movies would you, like, never want to see the light of day again?
Toy Story 2, or Toy Story 3?
Ooh, interesting.
Is that what you mean, between the first 3?
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna have to say I would want them to see the light of day again. So I wouldn't want to shelve any of them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's picking between your children.
Yeah, it's just like I can't do that. Hi.
Thanks for Toy Story being the sort of introduction into children's animation, but something for adults. You know, all the other studios come in with their Shrek and all that. I think that was a pioneer. But the question is there a toy in Lasseter's toy box that perhaps hit the cutting room floor, maybe wasn't in the storyboards, and maybe a toy that you would have wanted to see included that you did hear rumblings about?
So, great question. I think if you get any of those books, like The Art of Toy Story, you know, or anything about the creation, a lot of the characters went through a lot of different kind of phases in their development, and I find that really interesting. Like, for a time, you know, Woody had like a huge head and kind of a smaller body in the development, and then for a time he was really big and Buzz was really small, and so I think that is what I find really interesting in that kind of development. And then, you know, it ended up that Woody's of course taller than Buzz, but they're kind of a little bit more comparable. But I found that interesting in like all those different renderings and the brainstorming and them talking about that. Yeah.
Thank you. And then maybe a toy that was in the toy box that never saw the light of day. Like, you know, there's Slinky Dog and there's the pig and the Army Man. Maybe something else that we never saw.
Yeah. You know, let's see here.
That was the penguin, the squeaky toy, the squeaky penguin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was the squeaky toy.
I'm trying to remember back. I mean, I remember just seeing a lot of different character sketches and ideas, but I can't really remember a specific toy that just like didn't make it in. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see it in number 5.
Yeah.
So you, obviously you were a huge fan of X-Men. Did you watch the original animated series?
Yes.
You,
and I've started watching X-Men 97.
I'm gonna start watching that when I get home.
No spoilers.
Okay.
It's very cool. Yeah, I used to watch it on Saturday mornings.
It's so good.
And I still kind of get that rush with the theme song, you know? It's such a good theme song. And I have a little, like I have, you know, different kind of like toys around my room and things, and I do have a little X-Men corner, and
that's awesome. Like I grew up on the X-Men as well, and like seeing 97 come out, because that was one of those ones where I was like, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. We're never gonna see that style, that color palette back. And then I was like, oh, and then, you know, you hear Cyclops saying, "To me, my X-Men."
Yes.
It's a rush.
I know, and the quality of the voice recordings in X-Men 97 is so good.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you chills, you know, like hearing them.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Looks like we have someone with a cool jacket.
Thank you.
Looks good.
My question would be, what are your thoughts on possibly exploring
like Andy's adulthood and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on possibly like another movie made like that or something like that? Or like what do you think the story would be?
Yeah, so great question. So as I mentioned, you know, Toy Story 5 is in development, and we don't know, you know, nothing's been confirmed in terms of the story yet. However, I would love to come back and voice Andy as an adult. And from my perspective, I just would love the entire story to come full circle. So something like Andy's an adult and he has kids, and then maybe his kids are babysat by Bonnie. And then, you know, something happens where maybe Andy realizes, like, wait, where's Woody? You know, and he's kind of like, his kids bring the toys to show him or something, and he's like, oh, and then he's like, wait a minute, some are missing, or Woody's missing. And then maybe part of the film, or the film is like, he's trying to bring them all back together. He's trying to find them. He's trying to, to me, that would be a really kind of amazing full circle moment. And I've heard from a lot of fans that that's of interest.
Oh yeah.
Tim Allen mentioned in an interview that he's interested in Andy coming back and, as an adult. And I think it's cool to think too, like, what did Andy do in college and after college? You know, is he,
like, where does his story end up?
Yeah, like, is he an animator or is he a writer? Or we know he's creative and he likes toys, but he also loves Buster. Like, is he a veterinarian? Like, how do we know?
Like he could be anything.
It's interesting. Sorry? Maybe he's a toy maker. Exactly. Yeah, so it's very interesting to think about.
Yes.
And I would love, I mean, to me, Andy is such, I feel so privileged to have voiced him, and I would love to return. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Kind of similar to the last question, if Andy did end up having kids in the future, do you think, since Bonnie has his old toys, do you think he would get new versions of his old toys, like another version of Woody, Buzz, Jessie, all them?
Yeah, great question. Knowing that Andy, you know, has always been so close to his toys and was so close to his toys, I feel like he would want to gather like the original crew, you know? Yeah. And so whether, I don't know, whether he has to go on like ways to track them down, or, you know, or like repair the ones that need to be repaired, or I feel like that's what he would do. And, you know, remember his mom said, like, oh, Woody's not for sale. He's an old family toy, like, to Al, you know, in Toy Story 2. So we know that in the family, they care about the toys, and there's like an heirloom quality, and they like pass them down and things. So, you know, I think Andy would be surprised, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, where are the missing toys? Like, where's Woody? And I think he would want to try to kind of, and then maybe that would be part of the adventure of the story. Like, the toys hear that, and they want to get back to Andy, maybe, I don't know, or Andy's kids. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause Andy's a very sentimental person.
He is, yeah, he's sentimental. And I really feel like the toys are like friends to him. And so, as we know in Toy Story 3, he didn't want to get rid of them. He wanted to like put them in the attic for safekeeping, you know, and so he's that kind of, he's not a Sid, he's Andy.
Thank you.
Sid's your favorite character? The funny thing is, Eric Von Detten, who voiced Sid, is really nice. You know, so it's like he did a really good acting job, because Sid is kind of scary, you know?
Isn't that always the case? Like, the people who usually play like the more antagonistic roles are usually very nice.
Yes, yeah. He always was like, hi. I'm like, hi. Hello.
What's your favorite toy, Woody or Buzz?
Oh, good question. I think I have a soft spot for Woody, because he was Andy's first favorite toy.
Okay.
And he was the first one on the bed, remember? Before he got Buzz for his birthday. Okay. What about you, Woody or Buzz?
What's your favorite, Woody or Buzz?
Woody.
Woody.
A little.
And a little Buzz.
Okay, raise your hand if your favorite toy is Woody of the two.
Where are we gonna go?
Okay. Raise your hand if your favorite toy is Buzz of the two. Kind of a 50-50 split. That's interesting. Cool.
Awesome. Aww. He was just really excited.
So I watched all the Pixar movies recently, including the ones that I didn't like at first or didn't like quite as much, including Toy Story 2, which when I was a kid I didn't really think much of it, but watching it again with the whole thing with Jessie and I can't remember the name of the child that owned her. Anyways, what's your what?
Emily.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Pixar movie? Doesn't necessarily have to be a Toy Story one.
Oh, and I have to just pick one. Okay, I have to pick one. I mean, I'm a fan of them just like all of you. I guess if I had to pick one, I would say Finding Nemo. Just because I love the water and I love the beach and I love the ocean. And I grew up by the water and my grandparents, like my grandpa taught me how to sail and stuff like that. So I just, it's such a beautiful film and you feel like you're in the ocean and I love that. That being said, I have a lot of other ones I like too. Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite?
Actually, Toy Story 2 now.
Toy Story 2 now. Okay,
Rewatching
cool.
it completely changed my mind about it.
Yeah. I have heard a lot of people recently, like friends of mine, reference WALL-E, especially with like our time and like more screen time and changes with the environment. It's interesting, right? It feels kind of timely. Yeah. Thank you.
So you said that you were recording for both Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Toy Story at the same time. But Toy Story came out a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like how CG has actually managed to like with the newer computers, they've managed to be able to improve like the pipeline for CGI, because originally in like Toy Story it took a long time because it was very new.
Yeah, from start to finish, Toy Story took 10 years to make. And because it was, you know, of course, groundbreaking. And so actually, I started recording Andy, and then I recorded for Nightmare Before Christmas, and then I continued recording for Andy because it took so long. And over time, you know, they have shortened the time frame, but that being said, as we know, you know, Pixar films, there's so much to them that they still take several years to make, you know, and they don't want to rush either, of course. They want to be happy with that final, the final product.
Because there's so much detail that goes into every Pixar movie, especially like when they interweave them together to like show the cool little Monsters Inc. characters in like Brave and other aspects like that.
And also like the layering of the visuals and the layering of the animation, and also they go back sometimes to fine tune, and you know, and it's like they just want it to be just as they want it to be, you know, which is, I think, the right way to do it.
Of course, because they want to put out the best possible picture. So with that said, like what do you think like the newer Toy Stories will come out a little bit faster, like there'll be a closer like recording to what do you call it, production side? Yeah,
I think the time frame is now just like a few years versus like 5 years or 10 years, which is good. And you know, but that being said, with Toy Story 5 in development, with it coming out, at least last I heard, slated for like June of 2026. It's still, you know, about two years away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have a gentleman with a really cool shirt.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, very nice.
I have my Toy Story shirt.
Very nice.
My question is, when I was growing up, my parents had DVD of Toy Story 1 and 2, and I watched it all the time, like at least once a week. And I could not tell you how many times, but I probably watched it growing up. I was wondering, how many times do you think you have watched Toy Story?
Oh gosh, like you, probably dozens of times, maybe hundreds of times. I actually, when I started doing these kinds of events, I rewatched them all because I wanted to make sure that I had all the quotes kind of like fresh in my head, because of course fans like, you know, special like quotes from the character on items, and so I was like, okay, let me get all those quotes fresh in my head. And I watched Toy Story 3 with my mom recently, and we were both crying at the end. I mean, you know, it still kind of affects us, and just with the music and the writing and it's
yeah. So you watched it a lot?
Yeah, a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, my family and I, we've rewatched basically every Pixar film over and over again, because like it's just timeless. And the thing also is that having a family that just has a communal movie, a communal experience, is so very important.
Yeah.
So I did some research on Pixar when you guys were talking about, you know, how it takes years to make a movie.
Yeah.
It's because when they make a movie, they recreate or create every single frame, the entire scene setting, and then they take a picture and then they do it again. And they have like hundreds of computers all working simultaneously to create frame by frame. And Toy Story 1, 1995, doesn't look quite, or it looks pretty uncanny by today's standards. Back then it took like 5 or so years to render, but now they say that if they use modern computers to do it, it would take less time to render it than it takes to watch it.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why it still takes, you know, 5 or 6 years is because as technology, the computers get stronger, so does the rendering of the images, like Soul versus the original Toy Story, or Monsters Inc. versus Monsters University itself.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just thought that that was very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that additional context. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the refinement of the craft, much like in acting. It's like as you refine your craft, you want to invest more of yourself into your craft.
Absolutely.
And how did you get into acting?
So I did this workshop when I was 6 years old called Kids on Camera in San Francisco.
Awesome.
And basically my parents said that I just had like a lot of energy when I was really little, and I was always acting things out, and people would come over for dinner, family friends, and they'd say, oh, he should be in acting. And then my parents asked me if I wanted to be in that acting workshop, and I said yes. And then things started to happen really fast, because I experienced like on-camera acting in that workshop and voiceover. And then at the end there was an agent showcase, and I got an agent from it. And then I started booking things like on-camera commercials, and then voiceover, and then Toy Story, and then Nightmare Before Christmas. And because the pool at that time of kind of child actors in San Francisco and the Bay Area was actually pretty small. And so, you know, I was then like booking a bunch of things.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Which was fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Hello. So
Hi.
I'm curious about what your reaction was when you learned about Toy Story 2 being deleted. Where were you? What was your reaction to the news that had happened?
Yeah. So I actually didn't know at the time, because I think they were kind of trying to figure out a solution, you know, and keeping it kind of under wraps. But when I found out after, I was kind of shocked and a little bit horrified and relieved that kind of everything ended well and as it should, and that it didn't have, you know,
You didn't have to like
didn't have to
redo
start
anything.
over.
You didn't
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
redo anything. That's great.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also, I had a lot of fun recording that, because Andy's in it a little bit less than Toy Story or Toy Story 3, but like he goes to cowboy camp, you know, and there was kind of that cool sequence, that dream sequence, like, bye, Woody, you know, and like that whole thing. And when I was recording it, I was like, this is kind of out there, but then, you know, it all made sense in the movie. And
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Now it's after the initial trailer.
Yeah, that dream sequence was actually pretty wild. And like the other thing too is like that was kind of interesting dream sequence wise was when I don't want to play with you anymore.
Right. He's like in a trance kind of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when they were explaining that to me, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Okay, Andy's in a dream sequence or nightmare sequence. Yeah.
And how did you internalize that when you were younger? Like the dream sequences and stuff, 'cause that must have been different.
Yeah, for that I remember they showed me storyboards, and so that was a good way, rather than just using my imagination, like it was a good way to see like, okay, this is what's happening in the scene, and then with like the trash can, remember, and it was like, okay, now I get it. But yeah, it's always, I get a lot of questions from aspiring voice actors, and they say like, what advice do you have? And one of my pieces of advice is to always like know exactly what you're doing and like ask questions if you have questions, because you really want to understand, you know, the full kind of full qualities and aspect of the character in the scene. Right. And so I do remember asking questions like, okay, so it's a dream or is it a nightmare, and like, you know, what happens before, what happens after, you know, just to kind of really understand what I was recording.
Full context.
Yeah, and by that time I was like 13, 14, so I was a little bit older. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, looks like that's adorable.
Hello, Bo Peep.
Hello again. You kind of slightly answered it already, but I was wondering, like, the animation wasn't done when you were recording, like, and you weren't with any of the other actors, correct? Like,
correct.
You were with the toys.
Correct. Yeah. So I had the toys, and then just those character renderings and storyboards. The only time I saw completed animation is if I came back to like add Andy's voice to something, like in Toy Story when he's running up the stairs, like I had to kind of watch it and sync it up, and then when he was like jumping on the bed, I had to kind of watch and go whoa, whoa, like as I'm watching the animation. But usually it was the script first, recording first. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Hello, it's me again. So I want to change directions and talk about Lego Island a little bit. Okay. My friend and I, when we were much younger, we liked playing the game, but we were, I guess, always stuck on the first level, though we didn't know it. We just had fun delivering pizzas and skateboarding. Yes. And to this day, it's a long-running joke that like, hey, this Lego Tony Hawk has this fun little side adventure where you go and stop the burglar from destroying everything. But can you tell us any interesting stories about playing Pepperoni?
Yes. It's so funny you bring up Lego Island, because there are actually a lot of people out there who know about Lego Island, even though it kind of was this, game in the 90s. That was such a fun project to do, because they said to me, okay, you're like a California skateboarder dude, the dude with the food, who likes skateboarding and delivering pizza and eating pizza. And I was like, that's awesome. I could totally relate to that as someone who grew up in California and likes pizza and skateboarded when I was little. So it was really fun to record. And actually that character, I did tons of ad-libs in those recording sessions, because they just wanted like crazy sounds and laughing and like just little things that I made up. There was the script, and there were things that we recorded from the script, but then there was tons of ad-libbing, which is really fun as a voice actor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So was the pizza influenced a little bit by Ninja Turtles?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny because in the I remember recording it, and in the sessions they said like, okay, Pepper's like #1 food is pizza. He loves pizza. He's obsessed with pizza, and that's not that hard to like for a kid to think about liking pizza. It's kind of like I was like, okay, I like pizza. I know what that is.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a question.
Yes.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi.
Not sure if anyone's asked this, but how do you think would Andrew react if he saw his toys came to life?
That's a great question. I think, and we all remember at the end of Toy Story when Woody comes to life to scare Sid. So that's kind of an interesting side note. But I think Andy would be surprised at first, and then I think he would think it was amazing, and I think he would actually kind of want to talk to them. You know, I feel like he goes back so far with them, and you know, they're like his friends, that he'd want to talk with them. So a question I get sometimes from fans is, would he tell anyone else, you know, that he can talk with them? Which is kind of interesting. It's like, would he tell his family, or would he tell his friends, or would it be like his own thing with the toys? And I'm not sure, but maybe he'd want to keep it just like between them, because who would believe him anyway? You know.
Wait, Andy as a kid,
or as an adult, like, you know, would he? I don't know. I don't think people would really believe him. So maybe he just wants to keep it to himself. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because Andy's relationship with his toys is so personal and so sentimental.
Yeah.
Like he would want to just have them as his friends.
Yeah. And he would maybe go back in time and be like, well, how did this happen? And how did this happen? And like, what did, you know, what were you thinking during this time and this time? And, you know, and, yeah, and he might say like, wait, so when all my friends and I came up for my birthday party, like all of you would just like
wait,
you know,
for us?
or, you know, I don't know. I feel like he'd want to talk about all that with them. And yeah, and I do think if he told his mom or sister, like, they'd be like, what? You know, I don't know. I don't know if anyone would believe him. So he's like, maybe he'll just keep it between them. Yeah,
I think his mom or his sister would be like, well, that makes you happy. So, you know, they'd be supportive.
Yeah, or they would maybe think he's imagining it or something. Yeah.
Because he's always been an imaginative kid, and like he's always been really involved with his toys and very and it feels like that's a family trait, because like you said, Woody is not for sale. He is an old family toy.
Right. Yeah, that's like a family value.
And I think that's something that would be passed on, is just that family value and that love and love for each other.
I think so too. Yeah.
That's really touching.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for your time up here with us.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you all for coming out and spending time.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's have another round of applause.
And thank you for your great questions. I know I've seen some of you, but for those who I haven't seen yet, I'm at the table in the corner. I'm calling it the Disney corner because it's Bill Farmer and me